Kemi believed in God, seen an evil thing, and now doesn't believe in God. Gaza believed in God, have come across huge evil, and their belief in God has gone up. Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is the only way up. So this is a discussion about the recent interview of Kemi Badenoch, where she said she lost faith in God when she heard of or came across the story of Fritzl. A bit of background on Fritzl. He was a Austrian man, I believe, in the mid early 2000s, and he kidnapped and kept his daughter in an underground dungeon, no daylight, not allowed out for many years, and fathered children with his daughter. This story was shocking at the time and it's still shocking now when you read the details. But for Kemi, she lost her faith. And when you look around the world, especially what's happening in Gaza, they're being tortured. They're seeing the most evil of violations, and yet their faith is increasing. What is going on here?
Yes, Arkham Shani. So yeah, Kemi Badenoch. Where do we begin? She lost faith in God. She lost faith in her Nigerian identity. She hasn't lost faith in the Tory party yet. She hasn't lost faith in democracy yet. She hasn't lost faith in the Zionist entity who's massacring people. So it's interesting how she picks and chooses what she loses faith in. I think she even lost faith in British history at one point when she tried to revision British history. So, I mean, putting aside Kemi Badenoch, who seems to, I'm probably just a matter of time now before she loses faith in her own gender at the rate she's going. I think probably the more important point is that, we live in a world where we have more money than ever in history. We have technological scientific advancement. Just remember 100 years ago, I think the average age, if you were lucky, you got to was about 10. This is only over 100, just about 100 years ago. So with the breakthroughs in the medical arena, people live longer potentially. Diseases that were taking out whole populations now can be dealt with. So when we live in this world where we have scientific and technological solutions to everything, how then do you interpret and understand when these horrific incidents happen? So whether it's from a terrorist attack, whether it's from pedophilia, whether it's from massacres, these sort of things. And this is a challenge many people have. And if you have no basic outlook about the world, you can fall into a position where you start questioning things. Now, interestingly, you made the comparison that we've got a genocide going on in Gaza, and then in the West you have epidemic levels of sexual assault, quite a broad term. How is it one makes you question God and the other one doesn't? So I think that's a first issue here. But if we take that away, what we're going to look at here is what are causing some of these? How are some of these issues able to happen? How are individuals and groups of people able to get away with it for a long time? So Jeffrey Epstein got away with similar things like Fritzl for a very, very long time. And he was supported by a number of elites. So I think rather than pointing at God, these are man-made problems, man-made issues. Some of these are rigged. Some of these have got support of elites and groups of people in positions of power. We've seen the police get involved in abuse. We've seen politicians get involved in abuse. So, the issue is not as simple as it's God's fault. Really, these are human action. These are people who are abusing their positions. These are people who are taking advantage. These are people who actually even get protection by other people. These are give and take arenas sometimes where, I'll give you something for something else in return. Jimmy Savile didn't become who he was because of God. He became what he was is because he decided he's going to fulfill his most dark desires, and a whole architecture was created around him that allowed him to do it and get away with murder for a long time. And even people who knew he was up to this couldn't do anything because of the cover they had. So I think there's a bit more to this issue than simply blaming it on God. However, it's not as complicated and there's so much nuances. What you really got here is humans who are using positions of power and taking advantage.
Yeah, and I think this storyline of seeing evil, seeing bad, coming across something that just hits you hard as wow, that is horrible, that is evil. And then losing faith in God has become sort of the narrative in the West. And I think this narrative is, it's got a historical narrative, a long narrative going back to the Greeks and their philosophy and Aristotle's of the world. And I think they just mixed up the whole thing in terms of going back to basics on an intellectual level. Everyone has control of their limbs, their body. They make the decisions on how they do things, what they eat, what they say, what they drink. They have full control. If they're able-minded, they have full control. But for some reason, it's been mixed in with the text and verses about Allah creates everything, Allah owns everything, Allah knows everything, which is a total separate subject. Though it's known and it's correct, but it's totally separate, and it doesn't interfere in your ability to make decisions and choices. So I think rather than losing faith in God, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you see the evil of people, uh, it should increase your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from another perspective that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, without my guidance, you will do bad things. Your default setting is you'll end up going down the wrong path. Though you'll see it, you'll sense it, but you'll still end up going down this wrong path. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls the Quran, the book of Allah, Al-Furqan, the guidance, Mubin, a clear book. All these high praises, actually, you hold on to this, then you will make the correct decisions. And rather than when you see these cases, whether you see what the Israel is doing, whether you see the sexual assaults, whether you see cases of Fritzl, whether you see people being left in care homes, whether you see how the elites are taking everything and people are left to fight and, travel on boats and die in the Mediterranean, all these things, you realize here we have people who have, amongst the people, there are people who have decided, let's put God to a side, let's do our own show, let's run our own thing, let's do it our way. And you're seeing this. Whether you see it as Fritzl, whether you see it as the Zionists, whether you see it as Ukraine, whether you see it as elderly care, whether you see it as knife crime. And rather, it should increase our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, when we hold on to the book, when you see it, a lot of these problems dissipate. Knife crime is sorted out quite quickly. Elderly care is sorted out very quickly. Relationships between different ethnicities, there's such a confusion. Are you English? Are you British? Are you uh, um, racially English, but ethnicity is something else? Are you cultural Christian? Are you? It's gone so confusing, the whole picture. People don't know what to say, where to stand, and actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clears it all up and makes people of all colors, all races, all ethnicities feel the same. So I think this is the total opposite. How she has gone and totally shifted all the blame on Allah without no shred of evidence, no shred of proof. Actually, all the evidence is proof, and proof is showing she should be turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Historically, a lot of blame was put on the Christian church and God for everything that was going on in Europe, especially. And when they secularized Europe, they got rid of God. This was supposed to be the solution to all their problems. But what we find is the problems have magnified, that they've grown, they've made things far worse. And this is despite the fact that, we have the technology, we have the scientific capabilities. So, you're brought up being told that this world is your oyster, anything can be achieved. And then you see these problems happen and you have no anchors to understand and explain these things. And, we live in a very godless society as well. This is what's being promoted. So on one hand, you're told if you take God out of the equation and you make yourself God, you'll be happy. And then things happen around you that you have no framework that can explain it to you. And this can lead to crisis in identity, crisis in belief. There are people who are prepared to kill themselves for their cause. How do you understand this when you believe life is about everything? And just finally, I would say, Kemi Badenoch and many people, they seem to have a crisis of confidence on very selected issues. Why has she not had a crisis when she's seen the genocide in Gaza? Why is it there? She's very clear. Hamas is the problem. Badenoch's the one that said, no, Israel's in a proxy war for us in the West. This is Western civilization at war. Why does she not have a crisis in confidence when China massacres Muslims? Why does she not have a crisis in confidence when there's floods or earthquakes or bushfires in the world? Why is it she's actually very, very selective? So putting Badenoch aside, because she picks and chooses when she has a crisis in her life. But yeah, there are people out there who do legitimately question, who do legitimately have a crisis of confidence about life when these sort of things happen. And this comes really down to unless you don't have some core anchors which answer questions about man, life, universe, where you're going to go, what life is about, then really these things will make you question. And I remember the Archbishop in the UK when he even said about some crisis, he even questioned God. When it's funny, he didn't question the system, the politicians, social services, but he questions God. So it's a bit like we're placing blame on God when these are human actions done by human beings. So really they're at fault, and the systems around them that were supposed to stop this from happening. So yeah, this can happen to people. It's perfectly natural. That's where your anchors and your beliefs really come in.
Yeah, and it's very interesting you mentioning about a crisis of confidence. And I think, within a generation, you're seeing this huge shift from progressive, what's called progressive liberal outlook. Nothing matters, marriage doesn't matter, family doesn't matter, just travel, just go out, just do your thing, and that's it. And it lands where it lands. And now we're going all the way back to this complicated, okay, my heritage is Nigerian, my heritage is Pakistani, I identify as British, my food and my diet is Italian, my favorite soaps are American. This is a mix of something, and within that, I'm a cultural Christian. Within that, I believe in marriage, but I don't believe in, I'm in single partnerships. Having multiple partners is fine. So you got this whole changing of the goalposts within a generation. And how do you expect people to live? One day it's right, the next day, you're on some sort of list for saying something. One day this is wrong, the next day it's being promoted. Uh, it causes so much confusion amongst people. It just causes so much confusion amongst families, amongst relationships. And when you strip it back down to the bare bones, what is insan, what is a person, the needs, the worries, the do's and don'ts of me in this 21st century or in the 17th century or the 12th century was the same. I need the family, I need earnings, I need the living, I need to understand things, I need the peace of mind, I need to have, and Islam gives that nice framework that works throughout time. And otherwise, you do end up in this confused politics, this confused narratives, where you get, even when you look at the opinion polls, the political opinion polls, it's so varied and split, away from the two-party politics, but in five-party politics. Why? Because of this constant changing and manipulation and changing of the goalposts, that you've got so many political parties addressing so many issues, which some people have, they've held on to one thing and not held on to another thing, and you get this massive disarray, massive sort of cracks in society amongst people. So, Jazakallah khair for listening. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you think. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.